Welcome to 5 Star Weekly. It's match week. How's the new head coach getting on? Who's available? And what's that lineup look like? Let's chat about it all next. Welcome to the show, 5 Star fam. I'm AJ, and this is Marc and Chris. Before we get into it, become a member of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube. This segment is sponsored by Thinking Man Tavern, a cozy Decatur neighborhood pub. Grab a tasty beverage from a wide variety of selections and a plate of something delicious from the menu. To go, check out Thinking Man Tavern. Follow our Twitch for watch-alongs on match days on twitch.tv/ATL UTD FanTV. But before we get into it, Chris is filling in for Tanner, and Chris is graciously our tweeter on match days on Twitter. And he does a dope job for us, so give him a warm welcome. Chris, who's also a fellow Gooner. Woo! Up the Reds.
London is road.
Indeed. We got Marc outnumbered. Well, we usually got Marc outnumbered in terms of the red color anyway on this podcast, but now it's to the good side, to the good red. But anyway, so let's get into the show and into the news. It's match week, like I said at the top of the show, and Atlanta United are training at the stadium, and that's always great to see. I'm stoked personally to see all the players post some things about being in the stadium. They're trying some new atmosphere things. We'll get to that in a bit, but I'm getting just slightly more and more in a really kind of good buzz about the games that are coming up, essentially. But so moving on from that quickly, LA United, they announced the away match against Orlando City has been rescheduled to Saturday, September 5th at 8 p.m. That's taking advantage of being on Big Fox. So yeah, even though we went 0-3 in the MLS's back tournament, we still are expected to attract a lot of eyeballs. So that's good that the big broadcasters haven't forgot about us. But so moving on from that, LA United, they announced that any of the scheduled September games will not be played in front of fans, and that's of course due to the global pandemic. The second phase of scheduled matches will be announced sometime in September. What do you guys feel about that? I think, Marc, we know what so far you felt on the podcast, but let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that decision pretty much. It's really tough to say that it's safe to bring fans in. Dallas, as we know, have already had fans, and there were a couple pictures. I don't know if you would say they're out of context or what, but there were a couple pictures of fans not necessarily practicing social distancing, definitely not wearing their mask at all times. And I think that would be the toughest part if and when fans are introduced. I mean, anywhere really, it's how do you enforce protocols. So I think it's probably the smart play for Atlanta, at least to just, avoid it for now. Again, I don't think that we should have fans for the rest of 2020, but that's just how I feel personally.
Yeah. And some people are maybe wait and see, but it's also, I think it was just announced today. We're filming this on a Wednesday, that Georgia is the worst in the nation in COVID-19 cases. So, yeah. Anyway, set that up for you, Chris. How do you feel about what's going on?
I completely agree with what Marc said. I really don't think that there should be any fans for the rest of 2020, but it's going to be hard. The temptation's going to be there. I know for a lot of these clubs to open up their stadiums, that's revenue. And in a sport and in a market that's driven by, how much money, generally you can make and whatnot. I mean, the stuff on TV it's a good chunk of it, but the fans in the stadium is kind of where a lot of these owners are kind of looking, to see how we're going to make up some of these losses. But yeah, I don't really see how it's going to be, feasible for anybody to really truly maintain all the protocols. You can you have to wear your mask unless you're eating or drinking. And what do you do at a game? Especially at in the bins, you're eating and or you have a drink in your hand and you're about to drink. So I think for safety purposes, this is needed. It's unfortunate, and it's probably going to be one of those, things that kind of, stops us from putting out record crowds. I mean, if anything was going to stop us, I guess the pandemic is a very big thing to kind of stop, the amount of people who have been coming to see Atlanta United play. So.
And of course, yeah, we know that Atlanta United fans have a kind of tendency to throw some beverages when we score, so that might not be also the smartest thing as well. I think the onus on that is going to be very important that they don't do that. But if we do have fans in the stadium eventually. But yeah, some of the teams in our group will have fans in there eventually, and Nashville SC will not be one of those, but Orlando City, lo and behold, Orlando City will be one of those teams that allows 25% capacity, and that will be, one of our games. And yeah, that's I think for me personally a little scary. I hope that, obviously there won't be any contact between the players and the fans, but just even if it's open air, the science doesn't back that up that anything will happen, but it's just, hopefully no facilities will be shared whatsoever by just any possibility. But that's my biggest, I think, sticking point there. But in terms of atmosphere, Atlanta United will still try to put some atmosphere at the Benz. So this Saturday, they will be trying to, pretty much implement some of that, that kind of creativity that we've seen across, kind of the world football stage. But for Atlanta United, they will reportedly, from AJC, there will be an image of the spike projected onto the big pylon in the stadium before the game. And then with a hashtag on social media, fans can attempt to try to get on there. It will probably be filtered out for, appropriateness and whatnot for sure. But there won't be fireworks when a goal is scored, but the train whistle will blare. And there will be fan imagery on the halo board when a goal is scored. So, a little bit of like sort of that, what's that been, kind of a Zoom conference for some of the, football teams around the world. And I think ours, in our uniqueness, will be on the halo board. So that's cool. And the team has recorded the noise made by supporters from past games and will play it throughout the game in an attempt to kind of rev up the players to make them feel as comfortable as possible. What do you guys feel about these kind of implementations to kind of bring a little bit of, uniqueness and normalcy? Mark?
Yeah, I feel like, don't they have some experience with this already? Like the old Georgia Dome, they used to say they would pipe noise in for some of the Falcons games. So but I think it's cool. I'm not surprised, I guess. Like the Benz is fairly new, so they definitely have the technology. I think it's cool. The fans on the halo board, I think, would be pretty cool. Just doing what they can, I guess, to, like you said, recreate that atmosphere. It makes sense, So I guess, I don't know how much of a difference it makes for the players, but I can understand why they would at least try to do it anyway.
Right. And it kind of goes maybe antithesis to maybe what some have been advocating, like, they don't want any sound, they didn't want any noise in the stadium. They just want to be able to hear, the coaches and the players kind of be communicating with each other during a match. But what do you feel like, Chris?
Yeah, I think there's only so much you can do to kind of recreate that atmosphere. But I think that what they're trying to do is, it's still nice. It'll be weird not being able to see the stands, watching it on TV, or even just when you're there. It's a different type of feeling when you have all those people there. And I think for the players on the pitch, I think that maybe they don't think so, but I think that I think that the crowd, there's a reason for home field advantage. There's a reason why for a very long time we were undefeated at Mercedes-Benz, and it's in large part because of the atmosphere that we created. So, I mean, hopefully though, these are weird times, but hopefully with all the changes that are going on with United, that we can string some wins together with or without fans. So,
yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, yeah, one of our longest streaks and our biggest and best spells. Yeah, it's the fans. We're a big part of the history of this club, and yeah, it's I think maybe why we didn't do so well maybe at the MLS is Back tournament possibly, but there wasn't any of that support to kind of rev our players on. So moving on from that, the USSF has announced officially that the US Open Cup will be canceled for the 2020 season. And LA United are, of course, the holders of that. Now, in terms of, Champions League qualification, that won't be a route this year. And MLS's Back tournament kind of supplants one of those. But yeah, the other ways of getting into Champions League next year are up in the air. So we will be waiting on what that announcement will be. But yeah, what do you guys think quickly, about US Open Cup being canceled? Mark?
Yeah, not surprised. Once USL teams, I think it was announced that they probably wouldn't participate, I think that kind of pretty much knows the whole point of it, really. So I think it just had to be done at the end of the day. You just got to get in whatever games you can. So
yeah, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can't keep adding fixtures that may or may not be played. At that point, you're just going to have a scheduling nightmare. So, canceling the tournament, it was basically, it already probably had happened before they announced it. So,
yeah, 1 foot in the grave probably in terms of U.S. Open Cup earlier in the season. So moving on from that into the transfer updates of the week. So Jonathan Gonzalez, he, according to TUDN, Monterrey rejected LA United's kind of bid this past Wednesday. And the clubs could not agree on financials. And so, LA United have apparently bowed out of any negotiations and will kind of maybe, kind of leave it be in terms of Jonathan Gonzalez. And if he's still available in January, they might be facing some competition for his services. But, we've been linked to a few defensive midfielders in the past month or so, rather. And, we haven't really settled on one just yet. But, the MLS transfer window just opened on August 12th and will close on October 29th. So there still is some time for us to get some business done if they're still putting a priority on that. And it seems like it is. I mean, if a bid was being made still today on a Wednesday. So, Mark, what do you feel like, Jonathan Gonzalez not, being the guy that we ultimately bring in?
Yeah, I would have been excited about it for sure. I guess probably the price was just a little bit too high right now, at least for Atlanta United's liking. So that just kind of is what it is. I mean, he wouldn't have come cheap. There's not, I think, it's only two other players that cost Atlanta United more than $10 million in terms of a transfer fee. So, I'm fine with them. I guess not really pursuing it too hard right now, especially with, you still have to see how the rest of the season plays out. So, if they revisit in January, that's cool. But I think I'm fine with them not pursuing that transfer for now.
Yeah, because initially it was going to be maybe a loan first, and then maybe pay up that $10 million in 2021. But there is sort of that we're trying to take advantage of that U22 rule because he is only 21 years old, and so it is something that it could have been we could have worked out some sort of kind of finagling like we usually are often to do. But Chris, what do you feel like without Jonathan Gonzalez being the guy?
I mean, I'm okay with it too, and for slightly different reasons. Just simply, whether whether we currently have our future head coach in the building or if we are going to go a different route, I think it's important that a lot of the business we do kind of, mirrors what the coach is looking to do. So, at this point, I'm not too discouraged by missing out on him. I would have been excited too, but again, it really, for me, the transfers are going to kind of come down to, the style of play that we're going to be trying to do, and whether or not, we have some in-house options that are currently doing it or not, which right now is up for debate because, again, of all the transitions that we've been going through, it's just, there's a lot of uncertainty. So I'm okay with missing out on it because I don't know how he would fit in right now, just based on not knowing what our best 11 is. So.
Yeah, no, certainly. That's money and the pandemic and how it's going to pan out is definitely big concerns, and the uncertainty. Yeah, we just really if we bring in a high dollar player like that and then our next coach doesn't like him, I mean that's it could be a big issue. So but moving on from that into Erik Lopez. He will reportedly join Atlanta United on Monday, August 24th. That's according to Wilson Gonzalez of ABC Cardinal. And he already did apparently a 10-day quarantine. And he had 2 negative COVID-19 tests. He's been training separately at the training grounds. So, not too bad. Only misses 1 game potentially. Probably will miss a little bit more because he's got to get integrated into the team and train with the team to get a little bit of chemistry before he steps in and gets any minutes. But does it make sense to you guys? Like, maybe the time frame, did it take longer than expected? Like, what do you guys think, Mark?
Yeah, this was kind of a bigger transfer, with how big a deal. How much excitement, I guess, there was in Paraguay for this deal to go through. So there was probably a bit of negotiation. And then, with the whole traveling restrictions thing, and then he's got a quarantine and all that. I'm going to assume everyone did what they can to get him here as soon as possible. And, he only misses 1 game. That just kind of is what it is. He's obviously somewhat met the team. He's obviously been training somewhat. So, I'm still excited about it. I think he still has a chance to make an impact in this initial phase of games.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I think that I think that if he were to feature on Saturday, it would have probably been a very brief period of time. I don't think it would have been from the whistle. So I don't think that him missing out on this game is going to be terribly different than what would have happened anyway. But no, I'm excited to see some new faces in this team too.
Definitely, yeah. Maybe some guys that will, put the ball in the back of the net. That's, I'm sure a lot of fans will be, clamoring for that. But that bit of training news that he was training separately comes from our good friend Roberto Rojas of BN Sports. So shout out to him. But so speaking of Erik Lopez, we have a head coach rumor. In Paraguay, U17 national team manager Gustavo Morinigo, who also has coached Erik Lopez with the U17s. But he reportedly has emerged as a potential candidate to lead Atlanta United in 2021, according to Union FC 800. And he's apparently left his position as the head coach of the U17s and said that there was a proposal from a team in the United States, but did not say which team it was. Whether he is the guy or not, he has a little bit of a track record, apparently, according to our friend Roberto Rojas, from clubs in the country and the top 3 levels of the national team, with the U17s, U20, and the senior, where he was an interim manager. But he helped Nacional finish runners-up in the Copa Libertadores in 2014 and qualified the Paraguay U17s for 2 consecutive World Cups. But is he of the level that we are searching for? Is he, of that pedigree? Me, personally, I have my skepticism. If we're bringing in optics-wise, a U17 Paraguay coach. I'm not so sure that the fans will be absolutely thrilled with that, even if he does just have everything else ticked off. But quickly, what do you guys feel like, hearing this rumor? Mark?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think his resume is just a tad bit light. I would prefer if Atlanta United, went after a big name coach. I mean, just because he's not a big name doesn't mean he won't do well. But I kind of agree with you. I kind of want to see Atlanta United aim high on their next hire.
Chris?
I would too. It's not because he might not do well, but you go from Tata, and he had a very extensive pedigree, and say what you want about Frank, but he's at least been offered roles at clubs that again have some prestige to him as well, and him being also a fairly well-known person in the game itself was something there too. So I'd like to see an established coach, one who's had some success, and one who's at the very least experienced some adversity as well on the big stage, so they can hopefully turn this ship around.
Yeah, I mean, apparently he's like only 43 years old, so he's kind of fresh off of just playing, and could be hungry, could be that type of guy, but yeah, like I said, pedigree just might be lacking. But anyway, moving on to our interim head coach, who's been speaking some good things about Atlanta United. He's saying Atlanta United's a huge club. It's very, very well supported. There's an expectation of what they're going to see. They want to see attacking football. And yeah, Stephen Glass also spoke with AJC recently about what he expects out of his team and what he wants them to do. He says that, I hope they're going to see an aggressive team on the front foot, a team that is not going to stand and wait to see what happens, a team that's able to defend if we are under pressure for long spells, that we're resilient enough to stand up to anything a team throws at us. They will be hardworking, they will be organized, and you're going to see good players organized in a manner that's built to attack and win games. Lofty stuff to say before, basically this is his first real, big time job, even as an interim head coach. But that's, I think, what we want to hear at the very least. But Brad Guzan, he also lauded Stephen Glass. He said the open communication between the coaches and the players since taking over has been really, really good. He said it wasn't happening under Frank de Boer to the extent that it's happening now. He also went on to say that, the team's work since returning from Orlando has been great, from the film breakdowns to conversations during and after training. He said, quote, "We are a young group. You need to talk about the stuff, iron it out in training so that on match day, it's smooth sailing and everything goes well. We know it's not going to be perfect, but what we are expecting as a group and as a club is to continue to progress. Need to make sure we as players are going out and doing what's asked of us." And in terms of some of the other players as well, Jeff Larentowicz, he said that he's looking forward to all of this, the kind of hard work paying off. He said over the last 3 weeks, the amount of work being put in from the staff, from the players, from us as a group together collectively has been tremendous. From video before training to little conversations during training, before training, after training. Having these conversations, talking about plays that happen in scrimmages, plays that happen in certain exercises. It's understanding how we're wanting to deal with certain things that happen on the field. These are good things in my eyes. These are all conversations that need to be had. So, what do you guys, how do you guys feel after hearing all of that from Brad Guzan, Jeff Larentowicz, and Stephen Glass? Mark?
Yeah, I think particularly Guzan's comments stand out to me, and I think, I assume he's not really trying to take shots at the previous coaching regime, but it's hard not to look at it as at least veiled criticism. You know what I mean? When he's talking about the difference in communication, just feeling more comfortable overall. So it's I think now if the players are going to, I guess, talk the talk and essentially laud how Glass is approaching them, the next step is for them to actually play well. And so I think the onus is on the players at this point to show what they can do, especially if, as they claim, they're now more playing towards their style. Maybe some certain players are playing in positions that they're comfortable with, whereas versus under the board, maybe they weren't. So, yeah, I think you hear optimism more than anything else, which is good.
Right. It seems like they're welcoming in the interim head coach, so that's really great to see. Chris.
Yeah, I'll definitely say that that Glass is a lot better at talking than his predecessor was. So I mean that's very with what he says and what he and the way he's approaching and the way he seems to be catering to what the players want, I think is already an improvement. But you know, like Mark said, the players got to show this at this point. We gotta see it on the field too. Everybody's saying the right things. Everybody seems like they're in the right headspace. But will it translate to a better game? Something that passes the eye test and gets us points. Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, but it's also, going in to the MLS's back tournament, we were all talking about a big game in terms of the players as well, and yeah, they kind of laid an egg, but then you kind of heard where there were conversations about the tension and all that, and hopefully there isn't just talk this time. Yeah, maybe they do walk the walk as well. Jeff Horowitz also talked about changing his daily habits as MLS begins play outside of the bubble. He said the thing that he changed is my kids aren't going to school, so I don't screw up MLS. That's yeah. I mean that's that's I think all you need to hear about that. I think really is yeah. That's probably pretty wise actually. I don't know if kids are really taking a gap year, but it might be wise to not have your kids kind of go to school this year. Maybe I don't know. Me personally, I wouldn't, but maybe some would. Chris, you have a kid. I don't know if he is or not.
No, he's not.
He's not.
We are. We're taking the crazy approach and actually going to do homeschool for at least the rest of this year, and then see where we are next year at this point.
Wow, more power to you, man. That's yeah, because all the parents that have had to do this. I mean, wow, they start to realize how important teachers really are. But yeah, so moving on from that. LGP was asked on the Call Up podcast, the MLS podcast, about various amount of topics, but including, of course, Atlanta United. And he said, quote, "Atlanta will always be special to me for every single reason. I had my first daughter there. I bought my first house there. I became a champion there. I had great times there with the fans, with the players. I have a lot of friends there. I have a lot of moments in my heart and my head. It will always be special for me." He also, yeah, I mean, it's just, he kind of talked about also the relationship with Frank de Boer, where he's kind of mentioned, he's said it before the All-Star game last year, where there were things that he didn't like, and, the players didn't like, and pretty much everything else is just in the past now. The reasons why he left, you really won't get into, but yeah, we will be seeing LGP in these set of games because now he's eligible to play for Inter Miami. Will it be a little bit bittersweet, or will you be maybe hating on LGP? What do you guys feel like? Chris, I'll throw it to you first.
I can't hate on LGP. I mean, with the circumstances around him leaving, whatever they be, I enjoyed his time here. So I don't think I don't think there's going to be any hard feelings. I think most of the players who have actually played for United and then left, I don't think that there's really one I can think of off the top of my head that's been like, yeah, they left at a really, really bitter time. I mean, maybe there's an argument for Gressel because we didn't pay him, but I mean, at the end of the day, I got nothing against LGP. On the night, if he ends up, hurting somebody, he's a little bit of a rough guy. I don't know, but I mean, otherwise, no.
Yeah, there won't be fans to maybe boo that moment, but he did say also that if he scored against us, he will not be celebrating, of course. Atlanta is just too special for him to do that. What do you feel about that, Mark?
I think it's a great move for him. You know, like I certainly think he can be one of the best center backs in MLS. I think Miami did a great job in identifying him, and we kind of remember because what he did for Atlanta United. Because not only was he a good player, he was like the glue guy. You know, everyone. It was always La Banda at his house, and and whatnot. So I'm just happy for him. I hope he's happy. I'll never root against him personally, although I don't want Miami to do well at our expense. But it's good that he's back in the league. I am happy about that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just like I rue that I never got to taste some of that asador from his backyard. Man, it would have been so good. But
one day, man.
One day, somehow, yeah, we'll like go to Miami. We'll knock on his door, and he'll probably not answer the door.
Remember us?
Yeah, exactly. Who are you? But yeah, so moving on from that, Atlanta United, they announced a new homegrown signing in Efren Morales. Yeah, the 16-year-old defender. He's the 8th player to join as a homegrown player for Atlanta United. And yeah, he's the first player to sign from the Academy's inaugural U12 team. Wow, I mean, that's, kind of crazy just how young these kids are, one, but also, yes, he will be joining as the homegrown player in 2021. But he has been playing with Atlanta United 2. He made his debut last week, with Atlanta United 2, scored a goal. I mean, fairy tale, just ridiculous. But then he made his first start against Miami FC on Wednesday tonight. And yeah, I mean, seems like the team's high on him and just are working him in pretty quickly, and really good to see. I mean, just a 6'4" defender, oodles of potential. Apparently good on the ball as well. I mean, a guy that I think can and has all the tools. He just needs to put it together, and hopefully one day he plays for the first team. And if he's moving up this quickly, it's maybe very, very soon. But yeah, with Atlanta United 2, a tough set of results recently. I mean, a couple draws, and it's really, yeah, I mean, playing pretty decently, but then just kind of giving away leads. Tonight, they also pretty much gave away a lead, and it ended up 2-2 against Miami FC. But yeah, they've been giving a lot of time to the young kids, and that's really ultimately what it's about for Atlanta United 2 at the end of the day. Some of the U12 guys in Caleb Wiley, in the O2 guys in Coleman Gannon and Will Riley and Johnny Fortune, and then an O3 guy in Matthew Edwards, who have all been playing for Atlanta United 2 or on the 18, and just kind of making it look like the future's bright. But moving on from that, a loan watch with Andrew Carlton and Indy 11. He has been balling out, and yeah, he's had quite a decent run of it with that USL team, but he's had reportedly 14 shots with 5 on target, 6 key passes, and 2 assists in 7 games so far for them. And yeah, he's established a solid chemistry with the league's one of the league's best strikers in Tyler Pasher, who was also quickly, very brief time an Atlanta United player, but really only in kind of in an economic deal. And it was that Kenwin Jones deal that brought him to KC, where he promptly retired. But yeah, so he didn't make it there, but he's doing well with Andrew Carlton, and yeah, it's great to see. But anyway, that does it for the news, and gets us to a little bit of housekeeping. And yeah, follow our Twitch for some watch-alongs and other fun things. So yeah, watch-alongs on match day, some FIFA streams throughout the week. Yeah, twitch.tv/ATL UTD fan TV. Join us there for some banter and some fun. But anyway, let's move on from the news into the mailbag. And you guys send in these questions through IG story. Please continue to do so. We might answer your question in the future. But first question comes from Alonda Boy. Alonda Boy asks, how's Joseph doing? We get asked this weekly, so we'll just give a little update. He seems to be doing quite well. He posted today a post-workout photo where he's all sweaty, shirtless, and yeah, looks like he's not only been kicking a ball recently, he's now progressing further in his rehab. So it's good to see, but yeah, he has been ruled out of 2020. But good to see that fans are still caring about him and asking about him, so that's good. Next question comes from Etwa Henry. Etwa Henry asks, what's your bet on which formation leads to the most goals this season? I'll go ahead and put Mark on the spot here. Which formation do you think? It's a tough question.
So,
yeah.
It is.
Because it's not probably just one formation, but that's the question.
Yeah. I'm going to say the most goals we score come out. I think we'll end up playing 4-3-3 the most. Just with the personnel that we have. I think particularly, I've talked a lot about Hasetu. I'm still excited to see what he can do. I still think he has a skill set that Atlanta United needs. I think he can help make other players like Barco and PT better, playing alongside them. So I want to say the 4-3-3 is probably our most prolific formation. That makes sense.
Chris?
I think so too, but I do think that just based on kind of what our needs, and I think based on some of the teams that we're going to be playing, the one thing that we don't have a whole lot of is height. So I think that our strength might be to try to move it down, the middle, still use our fullbacks to what we're going to do. But I'm more partial to the 4-3-3, but I think that there's going to be times when we're going to have more like a 4-4-1-1 or I dread having the three at the back, but formations like that, I think we are going to rotate quite frequently, and I think that whatever formation we use, if we can play a lot of our ball through the middles, against again a lot of these physical teams and whatnot, put them on skates, have them backing up, then that would be great. And I think the best way to do that is to kind of overload your middle and have a couple of that 4-4-1-1 and that middle four being like some kind of hybrid with a couple attacking mids and whatnot in there.
Yeah, and I think for me, looking at the the personnel that we have in hand, Cubo Torres probably plays best with somebody kind of with him. But if we're trying to counterattack, then a ball over the top for him seems like the right type of play for him to be able to score, as he can do quite well on one-on-one situations. But also, Jurgen Damm is a guy that will be integrated into the team, and whether it's Damm or it's Brooks Lennon, I mean, one of those guys, they both are fairly similar in a sense where it's a pacey guy that will be expected to put a ball in, whether it's a varied type of cross, or getting in behind defenses. And so, it's got to be some kind of iteration of a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 that will probably get the best out of these players. And PT, I think has to be in and around or near that 10 position, because I think asking him to do anything outside of that, I think, is making him a little bit more uncomfortable. But moving on from that, Adana Costa asks, what are your expectations for next season? Okay, my guy, this season's not even finished, so it's a little bit lofty of a question to ask what's happening next season. I guess you're maybe giving up on this season, but I'll just go ahead and answer. Just say expectations for next season. They will probably be better than I think what we're expecting for this season, because 2020 2020 is a write-off. We've said that many times before. And so, yeah, that's at the very least better than 2020. Next question comes from Henry Higuita. How do you feel about Atlanta under Stephen Glass? I think we kind of answered it before in the news, but just quickly, like, you know, what's your general feeling about Stephen Glass, Mark?
Optimistic. You know, I think all the right things are being said. Now we just have to see it, but it sounds like they kind of everybody involved wants to get Atlanta United back to what we know them for. So that's a good start.
Yeah, Chris.
I'm cautiously excited. It's new. It's technically our third coach, so I am hopeful too that you know, this puts us back on the right track.
Yeah, I think he's.
I feel like that's a.
What was that?
Sorry. I was gonna say I feel like that's a typical Arsenal fan reaction. It's like cautiously excited. You know, we've been down this road before.
Were you cautiously excited, Mark, when you entered into the FA Cup against us? Yeah.
Okay.
I think
I was actually.
Hey,
likewise.
During transfer season for Arsenal fans, you're always cautiously excited.
Always. Yeah, it's like we might get that player, but there's a very high chance that we probably are not. But since we're linked to everybody in the world usually, and then it's like, oh, we get, I don't know, Lucas Perez. But anyway, so last question comes from Cortez17 ATL UTD. He asks, what do you think the lineup will be on Saturday night with new players that came in? Well, stick around for the match preview that's coming up. Sorry not to answer your question completely in this segment, but yeah, stay tuned for that in this match preview. So anyway, that does it for the questions from the mailbag, and that gets us now to the match preview. And yes, we will be playing Nashville SC at the Benz for the first time in ever, and it will be 7 p.m. And yes, it's gonna be interesting because yes, there will not be any fans. It will be the second meeting ever between the two clubs, and of course we beat them 2-1 on February 29th, that was 6 months ago, guys. Wow.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah, like we went to that game and it was kind of a should we be out here type of feeling. So definitely it's been weird, but yeah. Anyway, Nashville,
like a decade ago.
Seriously does. Anyway, so Nashville, of course, had to bow out of the the MLS is Back tournament along with FC Dallas, but that was due to too many COVID-19 tests that were positive. And yeah, I think at some point they had, I believe, 9 players that had tested positive, so it was it had to happen. But they have been playing FC Dallas. They played 2 matches against each other in Frisco, and that first one went 1-0 to Nashville, who now got their first win ever in their existence, and then a 0-0 draw. And yes, they have of course been playing in front of fans, to much controversy as well because of the national anthem that they weren't really supposed to play because the players had requested them not to, and then they played it anyway, and then some fans threw objects at the field, and yeah, it's just a very, very unsavory situation right now. But anyway, the officials for this match will be Ted Uncle, and VAR will be Chris Penso. Who, Chris Penso, he's one of those guys, I think, around MLS in terms of official-wise that you're just like, this guy. But at least he'll be in the booth, I guess. But he could screw us over via the VAR. So we all know how famous that's been at the Benz, of course, with the numerous
Don't put
VAR.
that into the world.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna knock on wood as well, but. But that is already a fact. But yeah, so anyway, Nashville SC, they're definitely a club that has been very stout defensively. Not conceding very many goals so far, but it is, the the biggest question for them is who's going to put the ball in the back of the net. Of course, against us, Jordan Zimmerman hit one into the back of the net, and he's a defender. But yeah, their goal scoring department is just a little bit lacking at the moment. Now, their head coach Gary Smith, he's a guy that's kind of likes to set them up for kind of that smash and grab essentially. They like to attack on set pieces. They like to create some long shot opportunities, and they're really, really good aerially. So yeah, they're that type of team that they're gonna be bruising us, and we're just gonna have to try and figure out their deep block. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I probably prognosticate that it's I would guess it's a low scoring game. But so in terms of some quotes and notes, Brad Guzan, he said that we want to get back to scoring goals. We want to get back to being exciting, to being a threat, and to making it a scary thing when teams see that they're playing at Atlanta United. And I think, that's music to our ears, of course. Fernando Mesa, he said that the negative energy around Atlanta United's camp in Orlando was just one of the many factors that led to the club's 3 consecutive losses. Of course, those were 1-0 losses, as we all remember, but heading into their match versus Nashville, Mesa believes that ATL just has to win even ugly in order to rebuild. So, good there. Very, very interesting thing here is that he said of interim manager Stephen Glass, he said, hopefully Glass does so well that he can continue working with us. I mean, that's huge words. I think he would be saying that, he's continuing to work with us permanently. I mean, obviously, that's just a little early for that. We need to see how he does with our performances and results first. But very quickly, you guys have any thoughts on Mesa saying that about Glass? Mark?
Well, I mean, I've said before, I think that Glass, this is kind of an audition for Glass, maybe in the future, whether it's with Atlanta United or another team. I think if he does well, he should at least get consideration. Yeah. So I think he would have to, I think he would have to do extremely well to really be a serious contender for the permanent appointment. But I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. Like I said, he's been saying all the right things. If they can follow through on what they've been talking about, you have to consider it at least.
Right. Because Darren Eales has been saying that, Stephen Glass will return to LA United to win and if we find a permanent head coach. But, I mean, there is that possibility that Glass can outright win this job. Maybe a la Ole Gunnar Solskjaer of Man United. And so, there is precedence. Obviously, he's not the only one. But the most recent to memory is someone like that who's, I think, knows the club quite well and kind of can bring that ethos of the club forward. Chris, real quick, thoughts on Mesa on Glass like that?
I think it's great when players, back up a new coach. I think that's important, and I honestly, again, if they're motivated, I know there's something called a new manager bounce where all the players are so excited, or at the very least have something to prove to the new manager coming in. But I don't know if Glass is going to have that impact or not. But again, everybody is saying the right thing, so there's reason to be hopeful for this regime, whether it's intermediate or temporary, or it ends up being long term, which agreed. I don't think it's going to be, but it's nice to have that.
Yeah, cautiously optimistic, one might say, right? But so moving on from that, Emerson Heineman said that he's been moved up higher on the pitch under Stephen Glass. That's great to see because I think his best spells with us, kind of notably in the Campeones Cup as well, was when he was kind of combining with our players in the middle, off of the left, and driving towards goal. And I think, you do want to see him kind of closer to the forwards, closer to the wingers. And that way you kind of get him more involved, because he is one of our bigger goal threats, I think, as we saw earlier in the season as well. But so anyway, moving on to the players to watch, and for Nashville, it's for Dominique Badji, the 27-year-old Senegalese. Will he be able to put some of those goals in the back of the net? Also, the 23-year-old Rondo Lille, also a forward. 8 goals in 47 appearances for Saprissa. Yeah, I mean, I think you're sensing maybe a theme it's just, these guys maybe aren't the kind of big goal scorers that they need to kind of complete this team. And also, you have Dax McCarty, the veteran, the MLS veteran, who is wily and can really, I think, help you organize your side. And yeah, when they're kind of maybe probably playing in a deep block, he will be a very important figure in their team. But for us, I think obviously it will be Pity Martinez and Ezequiel Barco. Both of them kind of have something to prove. They, with Frank de Boer going out, Pity Martinez, I think most of all, has not only a chip on his shoulder, but also maybe a target on his back for many of, not only fans, but, maybe other players around the league. They'll be saying, yeah, prove something to us. But also, I think Kubo Torres, Jurgen Damm are a couple of players that will, be needed to integrate it into the team. So we will see how they do it. In terms of injuries and unavailable players for Nashville, Dominique Badji has a quad injury and is questionable. Jimmy Mandranda is a midfielder and also has a hip injury, also questionable. But of course, for Atlanta United, Jose Martinez is out with the ACL, and Erik Lopez will not be available until Monday, August 24th, if he even really is involved in the next week or so. I think if he is at the least involved, it's maybe as a 5-minute sub, just to kind of get a couple of minutes under his belt. But let's get into some of the keys of the game for me. I think it's the combinations between Hyndman, PT, and Barco, and to be incisive through the middle, because we need to really, be able to play through those playmakers. Those are the guys that will drive and run this team. What about you guys? What were some keys to the game for you guys? Mark?
Yeah, I actually totally agree with that. And I thought Hyman's quote was interesting, where he said he's playing now back where he's more comfortable, playing with the strikers and the forwards. And so I think it's most likely, if we get goals, it's going to be through that combination play through the middle. I think spacing will be interesting as well, because if Barco, PT, and Hyndman all play at the same time, they do like to occupy the same areas. And so, who will be providing that width? I am curious to see as well, whether, it's Escobar or Bello getting up the field from the fullback positions or what. So, I think that's probably the combination play and width, I think, is what I'm looking for.
Chris, keys of the game?
I think it's going to be patience, to be honest. It's not going to be necessarily a free-flowing game. And I know in the past, there's been frustration sometimes with the players. So, it's a little bit of an intangible, but just, being patient without dawdling. So I'd like to see echo, kind of what both of y'all have said about, playing through the middle. Like I was saying earlier, I think that's our best chance, to break down these teams who are going to kind of, try to counter on us. So I think that, patience and taking our chances when they do come, not missing gaping shots at goal, and just, not getting frustrated if the play doesn't open up immediately. It's been a rough month and a half, I guess. So just having patience and being able to play our game the way that we want to, I think, is going to be a big key.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a great point. And also, I think fatigue levels, since we haven't really played in a month, will be fairly important here as well. And some of these guys haven't even played maybe in quite a while in Kubo Torres and Jurgen Damm. So yeah, I mean, these guys will really, you'll have to watch their fitness levels. And I think a lot of these players will not be match fit. I think that's just going to be very apparent, and we'll just have to be patient there as well as fans. But getting into what was the lineup for Nashville last match, they played a 4-4-2 against FC Dallas. They also played a 4-2-3-1, I believe, in that previous match where they won. So they, I think, definitely had to mix it up a little bit to try to maybe throw them off a little bit. But yeah, it seems like they're keeping it rather simple, and yeah, they will probably, like I said, sit in a deep block. But for us, let's get into our predicted 11. It will be very interesting because obviously there's some new players, there's some players that need to right the ship, some players that are proving some things. So yeah, very interesting indeed how they could line up. Well, let's get through the line together, and yeah, Mark, what's your okay? Guzan's the goalkeeper. Let's just move on past that. Obvious there.
Obviously. Yeah.
But what's your shape and what's your defense look like?
So I think we come out in a 4-2-3-1 kind of look. Four-man back line of Escobar, Robinson, Mesa, and Bello. In the two in front of defense, I think will be Larry and Lorenowitz and Remedi. I think Remedi, will be given license to go forward a little bit, whereas Larry will probably just sit in front of defense. And then in the band of three, I think we will see PD, Hyman, and Barco. Hyman in that kind of number 10 role. PD and Barco flanking him, of course, with Torres up top. Yeah, I think that gives us the best chance to, play that combination play. Like I said, I'm curious to see how much the fullbacks get involved. And I think in terms of solidity, probably just having at least one person sitting in front of defense, and at times two, is probably the way that probably the best look for us right now. I know we were asked about new players before. I don't have too many new players in there. I think Dom is a possibility to come in, maybe on the right wing. Maybe PD moves to the 10 at that point. Something I could see happening. But yeah, I think that's our look.
Yeah, I like how you have Larry in there. I think against a big team like Nashville, and one that's going to, sit a little deeper, then you may need on some of those set pieces to be able to defend them and maybe try to score from some of them if we get the chances ourselves. But yeah, Chris, what do you how's your team lining up?
I have the exact same back four, but I do think, just based on the way Bello's played over the past, over the MLS's back tournament, I think that he's going to be going forward a lot, and I think Escobar on the other side is probably going to do that same sort of thing, have that sort of balance on the flanks. And so with my lineup, I basically have, the one, sitting in front of the back four, kind of like what Mark was talking about, in Remedi. I thought about Jeff, but I think that we would probably move to bring him on at the second half if things are going well. My ideal is if things are going well, Jeff is coming on. That's kind of what I cling to on that one for this match. But I basically have a 4-4-1-1, but with little differences because, again, those two fullbacks are going to be flanking and coming up and joining the attack more frequently than they aren't. And I think Remedi is going to be the one sitting in front of the back four, which leaves the three other ones in the middle to be Pitti and Heinemann. But I do have interesting, maybe it's more of a hope of Ozeto coming on and being that other one in there, and then having Barco kind of play just off of Castro. I like Torres to be in there mostly because I'm excited about him and what he can bring. But like you said, I don't think that the new guys have enough match fitness to start at the at the first whistle. So I think that they'll probably be, him and Dom are probably going to be, substitutions rather than starters. But it could easily be Torres instead of Castro. So
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense for me. I mean, it's Remedi possibly being that guy that's is the guy that sits between the center backs maybe as well, and when we're in possession, in your lineup, Castro obviously that will be maligned by a lot of people because yes, he did miss a couple sitters during the MLS bag tournament, but the fact that he did get into those positions, it is one of those things where. I think if you put him in those positions more often than not, then he probably will put them away. He's one of those guys. It seems like that's a little bit more confidence-based, and especially with the previous teams that he's been with, he's kind of a little bit of a maybe an ego player, or not an ego player, but just what's the word?
Confidence player.
Confidence player. Thank you. And so anyway.
Streaky.
Streaky a little bit. But my lineup is gonna kind of look more like a 4-3-3. I think same back line: Escobar, Robinson, Mesa, Bello. I think it's still Bello's job to lose at left back, and him going forward, it was still I think something really exciting. I mean, he was creating a large amount of our chances on the left for sure. But yes, going backwards, yes, he does need to shore up a little bit of that defensively. But I think, I think he is that guy that we're wanting to see more of and want to see if we can put it together. But in my midfield, I have Josetu, Remedi, and Heinemann. Remedi is more of that guy that's sitting. Heinemann more of the guy that's combining with the forwards, and Josetu is kind of hopefully what he's brought in here to do a little bit as kind of one of the guys that can supplant a little bit of what Nagbe did in kind of just being able to connect those lines very well, and just very clean cycle of possession, and hopefully he can do that for us. But we haven't really been able to see that much, but hopefully he is put it in there so we can maybe see more of it. PT and Barco as the wide men, and Kubo Torres up top for me. Yeah, he might not be match fit, but I think for me it's a guy that you give him 60 minutes, you give him a run out, and you take him off, you give him a definite hook of how many minutes he's able to play, and and then you bring on maybe Castro like Chris was saying, or an Adam John, and so it'll depend obviously on game state, but I think I think being able to integrate at least one of Kubo Torres and Jurgen Damm I think will be not only important for excitement, but also making sure that they can gain more match fitness, because if they only get 15-20 minutes, it's not really going to help a ton. They have to be able to see what's in the tank. But anyway, let's move on from that, and let's give our thoughts on what we would like to see the team do this game. For me, it's definitely finish our chances. What about you guys? Mark?
I hope we create those chances, Like I said, I just want to see good interplay. I want to see players comfortable where they're playing. I do want to echo something that Chris said earlier in terms of not expecting too much, not expecting a pretty free-flowing type of game necessarily, but I do expect some of our better players, especially if they're comfortable now, to kind of have an impact on the game. So, like I said, I'm whether it's a front three or front four, however it is, I do want to see that interplay. At least I want to see us kind of look like what we're used to before De Boer.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I do too. I do want to see what we can do, but I'd like to see some sustained pressure. I think a lot of times there's, especially over the past year or so, it's just been a lot of staggering possession in the middle of the pitch, and not really much in the way of pressure on the other team's defending third. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Bello, I'd like to see Bello in the final third. I'd like to see, whoever our striker may be, making runs, if not behind because they're playing so deep. But, if, moving, making defenders feel uncomfortable and not knowing who to guard, I'd like for there to be, some fear that the other team is going to concede. And I'd like to see that again.
Yeah. I think finally for me, I think we want to see some more continuity between the lines, and the players will have to bring high energy for themselves because there will not be any fans. There will be fake noise pumped in, but yes, there will not be any fans. And so they look to the crowd and they hear noise. There's still nobody there, so it's it's still gonna be an artificial feeling. But anyway, so let's move on to the odds. And Bet365 has us at 60% to win, a 25% chance to draw, and a 21.7% chance of Nashville winning. So with all that being said, let's get into our score predictions. Mark, what do you have?
I think there's going to be goals in this. I think it will kind of end up being an open match, especially if Atlanta United play on the front foot, and then Nashville sit back and look to counter. I do think we're still vulnerable in defense, probably. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nashville gets a couple of looks on the counter. So I'm going to say that this is a 2-2 match.
Okay, Chris, what do you
got? I'm hoping for 2-1. And I agree with Mark. I think that I don't see us keeping a clean sheet per se. I think there's going to be some chances, and I really do think that our lack of obviously with the lineup I predicted, I don't see a lot of height in there, so I think that our weakness on those set pieces might undo us a little bit, but I do think that we have enough going forward on paper to, at the very least, get enough shots on target that ideally we can convert into that too.
Yeah. Okay. Chris has a win. Mark has a draw. I have a 1-0 win, and not an exciting scoreline, obviously, but I think something in the win column, something, as Fernando Mesa said, a little bit ugly. Totally fine. We just need to get in the kind of not only win column, but in the right direction, looking better, performing better, and a result in the win column. So what are your score predictions? Let us know in the comments below. But that pretty much does it for the entire show, except for the question of the day. And the question of the day is, what do you think of the implementation of the kind of fake atmosphere that Atlanta United have been talking about? What do you think of it? Let us know in the comments below. But guys, that's the show. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. For Mark, for Chris, I'm AJ, and thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.